afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to share a case that sits right at the intersection of behavioral science, brand strategy, and the choices we make in food. This is a story of how we took a product for which there was a need. Consumers believed it was good for them, but offtakes were really low. And we used behavioral economics to understand this and find a solve for this. So today we'll take you through the journey. I'll set up the context, and then Nitin and Priya will take it up. In our noodles portfolio at ITC, we have an atta noodle variant for which we were facing a curious problem. Whenever we tested the product among consumers in blind format, the product performed really well. Also, whenever we asked our consumers what new they need in this category or what innovation they want in this category, they often cited that they want a healthier and guilt-free version. And we believed that atta variant suited well for this need gap. However, the adoption for this variant has been low. To understand the low adoption, when we went to the consumers, the only answer we got was taste. It tastes like atta, it's bland, it's tasteless. So this is the only answer that we were getting. But we were confident that it was not a product or taste-led issue. That's when we realized that this problem needs a different type of solutioning. We need to understand the underlying barriers of adoption of atta noodles. We need to deep dive and identify what is the actual problem and nudge consumers to adopt the product. That's when we turned to behavioral economics. We decided to change our lens and look at it from a behavioral economic perspective and changed our traditional research and added this layer to it. Now I call upon Nitin to take over it.
Thank you. So we discovered that real challenge was not in what people told us. It was rather in what they actually did. Their intentions were genuine, yet their action, what the choices that they made, revealed a different story. This revealed a critical opportunity, the say-do gap. So hence we had to shift from the attitudinal lens to a behavioral one. And that's why we call it a behavior-first path to winning choices, where it was all about identifying the nudges that work with the real-world actions rather than just good intentions. And to solve this, we went beyond the traditional call count, and we constructed a three-layered behavioral economics approach, where we first used the COMBI framework as a diagnostic tool to identify the actual behavioral blockers as to where the barrier lies, whether is it in the capability, opportunity, or motivation. Second, we mapped each of these barriers to the nudges using the Mindspace toolkit, which included principles like messenger, default, norms, and effect, giving us a clear direction to interventions. Third, we translated these nudges into a language which included pack, name, and semiotic cues. So the solution didn't remain just theoretical, rather become actionable at a brand and communication touchpoints. Importantly, we clubbed qualitative observation, quantitative validation, and behavioral science. This allowed us to simply move from decoding behavior to mapping nudges, and importantly, driving the change. Over to you.
So the biggest insight we uncovered was the inner conflict. Consumers were stuck in a constant I want both loop. On one side, health was seen as aspirational and reflective. However, something that they knew they should choose. But it also carried a compromise, effort, and even boredom. On the other side, indulgence delivered instant gratification. It was automatic, it was emotional, and habit-driven. Even though it came with guilt, in that moment, indulgence usually won. This tug of war meant that while people were willing to try healthier noodles once, their impulse for indulgence overpowered their intention for health. And that's why repeat was stalling. This is where the paradox became crystal clear to us. For consumers, noodles symbolized fun and enjoyment, and even rebellion at times, something you eat for escape. On the other hand, atta was coded as routine, everyday, and even boring, the food of obligation. By calling it atta noodles, we were trying to collapse two worlds that do not meet. We were asking consumers to approach an indulgent product with a health mindset. And this was creating a clash and creating a cognitive dissonance. But emotionally, it just didn't fit the noodle frame in their minds. This dissonance, therefore, was killing the repeat behavior. Even the packaging was reinforcing this contradiction. The cues on pack leaned heavily towards health. Everything, right from the word atta, the green color, the visible vegetables, the grain symbol, everything, all of this was saying, I am good for you. But the pack never said, you will crave me. In semiotic terms, the message was obligation-driven. Eat me because you should. What was missing in the pack? The indulgence cues, the creamy visuals, the playful characters, the fun sensorial language that a noodle lover would expect from a noodles pack. So the paradox played out right on the shelf itself. The product was framed around the logic and not desire. And without desire, there was no repeat. Thus, instead of persuading with rational arguments, we decided to nudge. We took each consumer barrier and mapped it to a behavioral principle, and then translated that into specific actions around the 4 Ps. The word atta itself sounded boring. Using principle of effect, we explored emotional naming options like zero maida, fun grains. Many consumers had low clarity on what made the product healthier yet indulgent. So we leaned on messenger and saliency to cue indulgence and to make the product credible. Health was coded as a compromise. We reframed it using norm, showing mothers and kids choosing health, making tasty and healthy the new normal. In store, many purchases were autopilot. We used priming and default through shelf displays to shift recall at the moment of choice. And together, these nudges worked subtly. By not shouting loudly, but they made the health feel desirable, habitual, and emotionally rewarding. So what did we learn? Firstly, the consumers do not reject health. What they actually reject are things that health often carries with it, which is the blandness, which is the effort, which is the compromise. Secondly, we saw a tug of war. Intention tells you to eat healthy, but impulse pushes you to indulge. And often in that moment, impulse wins. And that is why the habit stalls. Thirdly, the framework helped us decode and intervene. Combi showed us exactly where the habit broke, and Mindspace gave us the levers to fix it, not by shouting louder, but nudging softly, subtly. And for the insight industry, this has 3 implications. We need to stop only asking what people think. We need to start decoding why they act. Behavioral frameworks are not just models. They are the bridges. They help us move from diagnosis to design, from insight to influence. And most importantly, our roles as researchers is shifting. We are no longer just data collectors. We have become behavior architects. Our job is not only to uncover context, but to redesign it. With this, I would like to acknowledge my co-authors, Kajal and Nitin, and of course, my team who supported in this entire journey. Thank you so much. I would love to pause here and take your questions.
It's up. Okay, so we have one interesting question. There's constant conflict of health and taste in the market, and that is something marketers leverage on very often, right? So how differently can they solve this conflict, and how better can they solve this conflict?
I think we answered this question through the paper itself. Using behavioral principles is where we solved this conflict, the inner conflict of health and indulgence, very subtly nudging, using the principles, behavioral principles, nudging consumers to not forcing them, honestly, not shouting loudly to do something and forcing them to, adopt a certain behavior. Behavior adoption is a slow process. And therefore, it is important that we nudge them subtly and not push them towards anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.